Welcome everyone to the NoDQ.com live recap of AEW Dynamite for August 6th, 2025. Shout out to everybody watching this, whether it's live or on demand. Let's discuss Dynamite as we get closer to the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, which will be taking place in London. We opened up the show with a backstage promo from MJF. He cut a promo on Mark Briscoe. That was the scheduled main event for the show. MJF said the devil has no problem sending Mark to hell. He said that Mark is nothing more than white trash that got lucky. We had our first match of the evening, which was Jon Moxley versus Speedball, Mike Bailey. You had Marina Shafir out there interfering, taking cheap shots. Kevin Knight was out there to counteract that, and Bailey was able to take advantage. One of the highlights of the match was both men on the barricade, and Bailey did this moonsault knee drop on the barricade to Moxley. Then, after the commercial break, Moxley took control for a while, targeted the fingers. Then Speedball made his comeback. He came off the top with a shooting star. Moxley kicked out. Speedball transitioned into a submission, but then Wheeler Yuta grabbed the boot of Speedball. Darby Allin showed up to even the odds. He had a rag and he used it, shoved it in the face of Yuta, got rid of Yuta. Speedball almost got the win on. Reapplied his position. Moxley was able to counter it, and then he picked up the 1-2-3 victory with a Death Rider. Match was fine. Predictable that Moxley would win, but it did advance the Darby Allin storyline. And then backstage, Moxley and Marina found out that Yuta was put into a body bag, and there was a piece of paper attached to his head, maybe stapled, that said Forbidden Door. Looks like we are, in fact, getting Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin at Forbidden Door in London. Yes, Jon Moxley needed help to beat Speedball. It is what it is. We had Mercedes Moné arriving to the with her 8 championships, and she called Renee Paquette a mark. We had a 4-way women's match, the women's match earlier in the evening for once. Alex Windsor versus Queen Aminata versus Skye Blue versus Billie Starkz. Toni Storm was out there to watch the match. The winner of this was another 4-way match. This one will be at Forbidden Door. Mercedes versus the winner of this match, and then a person from CMLL, and then a person from Stardom. Now, it was a very competitive match with all 4 of them. Then Skye got this steel chair, and I'm not sure what happened here. It looked really awkward. She was trying to do something, and then Aminata then drove Skye into the chair. Then Athena it's a 4-way match. Anything's possible. You had Athena getting in there. Toni Storm pulled her out of the ring. And then Alex Windsor was able to pin Billie Starkz to qualify for the 4-way at Forbidden Door. Mercedes Moné came out there, and then Athena took a cheap shot at Toni Storm, gave her the O-face, the stunner off the top, and then Mercedes laid out Alex with the backstabber. And Mercedes and Athena teased a little bit of an alliance potentially after they've had a history in the past. Match was fine. Solid match here. We had the Young Bucks backstage yelling at a production guy. They said they want their pyro back, their LED screen, and they want Justin Roberts to read off their introduction verbatim. But before we got to the Young Bucks match, we had the Don Callis family come into the ring for a promo to celebrate Kyle Fletcher's win of the TNT title. He beat Dustin Rhodes in a street fight. I think he stabbed Dustin's knee with a screwdriver, and that's the storyline. Action instantly. But hey, at least Dustin got his moment at All In. Now they cut this promo. Crowd was definitely heated for this one. They were chanting F Don Callis. Fletcher said that Dustin got what he deserved for taking Fletcher's moment at All In. Fletcher said he took Dustin out. He also took out Adam Cole. And he said all of this is just the beginning of his legacy. And then Don Callis had a gift for him, just like with Kenny Omega a few years ago. Don Callis had a painting of both of them shirtless. I think Fletcher might have been bottomless too. He had the TNT title covering his lower region. And the gist of this is that Fletcher says he's going to be a fighting champion. And Dustin said it's not a work. He is legitimately having the double knee surgery. And it might have just been a scenario where he needed the surgery. They did the match and they did the angle to write him out of the storylines. Best wishes to Dustin with his recovery. And then we had a backstage promo from Adam Copeland. He said that Christian Cage learned nothing. And then he turned his attention to FTR and Stokely. He did reveal that next week he will be having a match with Stokely. And if FTR interfere, the restraining order goes away. That takes place next week on Dynamite. We then had a tag team match. We had Brody King and Bandido against the Young Bucks. Maybe the best part of this show was the Young Bucks with their entrance. So everything that they wanted was there, but it was all screwed up. Their LED screen was blocking their way coming out there. They had to crawl from underneath it. And then Justin Roberts actually did what they said, read the whole note verbatim, including all of the punctuation. Then the pyro sound hurt their ears, and then little flickers of pyro went off randomly. Then the screen, the names on the screen said Max and Jeremy, which was a reference to their names in TNA Wrestling as Generation Me. Crowd was chanting jobbers. I thought this was pretty entertaining, as it was the past couple of weeks. They're really making the most out of this. I give them credit for the creativity. Match itself was pretty good. Back and forth, Young Bucks doing a lot of their offense that only they can do. It was a little bit more of a struggle for Brody and Bandido because of their lack of being a team, their inexperience as a team together. The Bucks did the TK driver. Brody was able to break up the pin. Then Bandido and Matt Jackson, I believe, were on the barricade, and Bandido hoisted up Matt and press slammed him all the way down onto Nick, who was on the floor. Then they got back in the ring. Bandido and Brody somehow managed to get the win. They double teamed and they picked up the 1-2-3 victory. Big shocker here. I was not expecting this one. Matthew and I were talking in a chat room. We thought this was like a 99% chance of the Bucks winning. Big swerve here, although it does make sense because if FTR are in the last spot, and I believe they are, you got a heel team, and do you really want to do heel team versus heel team? Brody and Bandido advancing, that's a nice moment for them, and who knows, maybe they'll beat FTR as well. there's been a lot of talk about the Hurt Syndicate and who they're going to drop the titles to. We'll see what happens. Speaking of the Hurt Syndicate, they were interviewed backstage, and MVP said best wishes to whichever team wins the tournament for Forbidden Door. And then MJF came in. Lashley and Shelton Benjamin left. MJF said MVP and him, the two of them could just work together. MVP said MJF doesn't get it. MVP said MJF's ego is more than anybody can stand, and MVP gave the thumbs down. He said that out of respect, he will leave MJF in one healthy piece so we can go for the big, beautiful belt. And MVP had one more comment. He said that he hopes MJF fails, because if MJF wins the title, Bobby Lashley will be coming for him. And it will not be business. It will be personal. I liked this, even though it feels so abrupt, this split between the Hurt Business and MJF. I was really expecting more fireworks than what we've gotten up to this point. This felt like the end. The announcers even said the third thumbs down means that MJF is officially out of the group. Next segment we had FTR interviewed backstage, and they said they see right through Adam Copeland, and Stokely cut a promo, and he said that Adam is a bully. He's going to show up next week. He's going to pin Adam. We'll see what happens. Seems like there are some shenanigans in the making, but there's a number of possibilities for this one. Next week, we got Copeland versus Stokely, and I suspect something will go down. We had Renee Paquette interviewing Swerve Strickland about his upcoming Forbidden Door match with Okada. He said that this is a big match for Okada because Okada is facing the most dangerous man in wrestling. And he also said that this match is going to be redemption for him because he lost twice in London, including last year in the world title match. Solid promo here from Swerve Strickland. Pretty basic, but effective. And then we had our main event, MJF versus Mark Briscoe. But before the match, Briscoe was interviewed. He said MJF is going to pay for his sins. And then Adam Page confronted Briscoe, and he was hoping that Briscoe would be the next challenger for the championship, and he shook his hand. MJF had his match with Briscoe, and MJF kept rolling out of the ring trying to avoid the Froggy Bow elbow, and they brawled in the crowd for a little bit, and MJF tried to flee, but Briscoe went after him. Then Briscoe set up a table. Remember that for later. MJF raked the eyes, typical MJF to get the upper hand. And then after the commercial break, MJF was laid out on the table. He rolled back in the ring. Briscoe finally hit the elbow in the ring. MJF kicked out. So then Briscoe rolled MJF out, put him on the table, went up top for another Froggy Bow elbow. However, MJF rolled out of the way, and Briscoe crashed through the table. It always happens. The guy that sets up the table, 9 times out of 10, ends up being the one that goes through it. And then back in the ring, MJF was trying to get the count out victory. Briscoe, of course, always beats the 10 count. Everybody beats the 10 count at 9. He got back in, but immediately was hit with the Heat Seeker DDT. Referee was blind. He did not see Briscoe putting his foot on the rope, and MJF got the 1-2-3 victory. After the match was over, MJF continued the attack. He hit Briscoe with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, busting him open. Then Adam Page came out there, and they had a brawl. The old pull-apart brawl. Security came out there. They fought in the crowd. Security kept trying to break them up, and then they were back by the ringside area. And finally, MJF retreated. Paige stood tall as Dynamite went off the air. Overall, I thought the show was fine. To me, it was an average wrestling television show. Nothing really stood out to me, either bad or particularly great. They did have some good wrestling on the show. The tag match was good. The main event was good. And the storylines to build up Forbidden Door, they were all right. Nothing too heavy, though. Nothing too significant. It just felt like your standard wrestling show to me. So I'm going 5 out of 10. Not bad. Fine Dynamite. But it really is for the sickest of the sickos, if I may say so. Not really something I would strongly recommend going out of your way to watch. Just Forbidden Door, for whatever reason, doesn't feel like it has a huge buzz. And my opinion on that is it doesn't feel like a big deal after the fact that guys like Will Ospreay and Okada, they were in New Japan 3 years ago, and now they're in AEW. Like, what big New Japan stars do we really want to see at Forbidden Door at this point? And they could do some stuff with CMLL, but it just felt like a bigger deal 3 years ago when they did the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, because it was the whole idea that this was something we hadn't seen, like New Japan and then a big promotion in the United States doing this joint show. Felt like a big deal 3 years ago, but now it's nothing special. So it kind of feels like a filler pay-per-view. That's the real problem. I feel like Forbidden Door has worn out its welcome. And, you know, it's AEW, so the pay-per-view will be great, but the concept, I'm feeling like it might be time to retire it. Just my take on it. And regarding the ESPN news, I hope AEW can come up with something with HBO Max, whatever they're calling it these days. If AEW could get a really good streaming deal where fans don't have to pay $50 for a pay-per-view, like that would be solid timing for AEW, because some people are frustrated with the ESPN deal. WWE premium live events will be more expensive unless you already have like the ESPN bundle. I think if they could pull that off and get a good streaming deal, they might be able to win over some fans. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Hopefully Tony Khan is on that. Anyways, guys, thank you all for watching tonight. I hope you enjoyed the stream. If you did, give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment. Tell me what you liked or didn't like about Dynamite. And stay tuned. This Friday, we got the SmackDown recap. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. Take care, everybody. Have a great night. Say yes to NoDQ.com, and I will see you all next time.